Welcome to the chip market, where we analyze the companies shaping our technological future. So, is the future of quantum computing a marathon or a sprint? Well, today we're looking at two companies that are basically betting on each side of that question: D-Wave and IonQ. They have fundamentally different ideas about how this tech is going to create value, and more importantly, when. All right, here's our game plan. We're going to frame their two distinct strategies, compare their tech and financials, dig into the valuation gap, cover the key risks and catalysts, and then wrap it all up with a final thesis. Let's get right into it. Okay, first up, the two paths to quantum. You really have to get this, because the strategic split between D-Wave and IonQ, well, it's not just a minor technical detail. It defines literally everything about their businesses. So on one side, you've got D-Wave. They are laser-focused on the here and now. Their whole game is about commercializing a specialized technology called quantum annealing to solve really complex optimization problems today. Think things like logistics, portfolio management, that kind of stuff. Then you have IonQ. They're playing the long game. They're trying to build a universal gate model computer. It's way more ambitious, aiming for a true, fault-tolerant machine that can run any quantum algorithm you can throw at it. Now, what's really fascinating is that these different strategies are rooted in two completely different types of quantum hardware. And I mean completely different. This isn't just a software layer. It goes right down to the physical architecture of the machine itself. D-Wave's approach is quantum annealing. The easiest way to think about this is it's a purpose-built machine. It's designed to do one thing really, really well: find the best possible solution from a massive landscape of possibilities. It naturally finds the lowest energy state of a system, and that state maps directly to the optimal answer for these hairy optimization problems. By contrast, IonQ uses the gate model approach. Think of this like building a universal quantum CPU. It's not hardwired for just one type of problem. Instead, it uses a sequence of quantum gates to run, in theory, any quantum algorithm you can dream up, from optimization to drug discovery. This is definitely the marathon approach. And this table just lays out the trade-offs perfectly. Look at D-Wave's latest Advantage 2 system. It boasts over 4,400 specialized qubits available right now. Now, contrast that with IonQ's Forte system. It has 36 algorithmic qubits. That's a metric IonQ created to measure usable, error-corrected compute power, not just the raw qubit count. So you see the difference, right? D-Wave offers massive scale for a specific task, while IonQ offers fewer but higher quality and universally programmable qubits. Okay, so we've got the tech down. Let's switch gears and see how all this translates into their business models and financials. Because let me tell you, the story here is just as divergent as the technology. All right, looking at D-Wave's revenue, it's a bit of a mix. About 40% comes from their QCaaS, or Quantum Computing as a Service platform. The rest is a blend of professional services and actual hardware sales. And those hardware sales, they don't happen often, but when they do, they're big, which makes for some pretty lumpy revenue. This chart really says it all. Just look at the quarterly revenue. You see IonQ's nice, steady climb. That's the consistent growth you want to see. Then there's D-Wave. The revenue is smaller and a lot more choppy. See that massive spike in Q1 2025? That's what I was just talking about. That's from a single large on-premises system sale. Now, let's talk about something that is absolutely critical: the balance sheet. After a recent equity financing, IonQ is sitting on it's a war chest. We're talking $1.6 billion. That gives them an incredibly long runway to fund their ambitious and very expensive R&D roadmap for years without needing to worry about tapping the markets. D-Wave, though, is a completely different story. They're operating with a much leaner cash balance, around $178 million. This puts them in a tighter spot, Their operational runway is way shorter, which means near-term commercial execution, getting revenue in the door, isn't just a goal. It's absolutely critical for survival. So if we put the full year 2024 data side by side, the picture gets even clearer. I mean, look at this. IonQ is almost 5 times larger by revenue, growing at nearly 100%, and has a cash runway of over 5 years. D-Wave showed flat growth in 2024, but to be fair, they do have a strong gross margin, which is definitely a point in their favor. And all of this leads us right to the valuation story. This is where it gets really interesting, because you can see exactly how the market is pricing these two completely different bets on the future. Yeah, IonQ commands a huge valuation premium over all its public peers. We're talking roughly 46 times its 2024 sales. That reflects the market's optimism for its long-term universal vision. It's a bet on the massive eventual prize. D-Wave, on the other hand, trades at a much more modest 17 times sales, which seems to price in its current reality as a niche player. So for D-Wave, the future really hinges on execution. In a bull case, if they sell a few of their new Advantage 2 machines, you could see revenue pushing towards $27 million by 2028. But in a bear case, if that commercial traction stalls and pilots fail to convert, revenue could actually decline. The range of outcomes here is just massive. So, what are the key risks an investor has to underwrite here? And on the flip side, what are the potential catalysts that could just completely change the narrative for D-Wave? The primary risks are pretty clear. First, the technology has to prove its economic value against classical computers that are constantly getting better. Second is market execution. They've got to overcome pilot fatigue and get customers to sign real production contracts. And finally, with a cash burn over $70 million a year and less than 2 years of runway, managing that balance sheet is absolutely paramount. But on the other hand, there are some major potential catalysts on the horizon. The rollout of the new Advantage 2 system is a big one. If they can show strong performance benchmarks, that could be a game changer. Any large commercial or government contract wins would provide powerful validation. And then there's the deep tech stuff, like demonstrating non-stochastic hardware, which would let their machines solve an even broader class of problems and significantly expand their market. So, pulling all this together, what's the core investment thesis for D-Wave? How should we really be thinking about this company in the grand scheme of things? You really have to frame D-Wave as an asymmetric opportunity. With an enterprise value around $150 million, the market is basically pricing in stagnation, very low expectations. And what that means is that any piece of good news, a new system sale, real proof of quantum advantage, could lead to a significant re-rating of the stock. The downside is very clear, but the potential upside from this low base is substantial. And this all leaves us with the final question, doesn't it? Is D-Wave going to successfully carve out a profitable, defensible niche in optimization and become a sustainable leader in its field? Or is it going to be overtaken by more powerful universal machines and better classical software, ultimately becoming a historical footnote in the quantum race? To recap, D-Wave offers a near-term specialized approach with its quantum annealers, which is a world away from IonQ's long-term universal vision. And while its financials are modest and the risks are absolutely real, its low valuation presents an asymmetric bet on the commercial viability of annealing. Thanks for watching this explainer on the chip market. If you found this analysis valuable, think do us a favor and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next breakdown. We'd love to know what you think, so let us know your thesis on D-Wave in the comments below.